All right. Hello, beautiful people of the internet.
He is so trying to get into that box.
All right, here we go. We're going live on Alpha Geek, so turn down your microphones and let's do this thing. Here we go. Alien Invasion URL. Going there, hitting that. All right, here we go.
You are listening to Alpha Geek Radio.
The following is a production of Galactic Netcasts.
We interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea. A large object traveling at supersonic speed is headed over the North Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States.
This Earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
This could be the beginning of the end for the human race. Human beings cower before the onslaught of these unearthly enemies.
It's Thursday, March 10th, 2016. Welcome to another Alien Invasion podcast. We're up to number 176, a production of Galactic Netcasts. I'm Dave Nelson. Joining me, as always, Brad Ludwig and Anessa Moyens. What's up, guys?
I'm alive.
Yay! Yeah, welcome back. You were missing. There was a big gaping hole last week, Anessa. That hole was you. Because you weren't here.
I was pretty much dead to the world. It was pretty ugly with the stomach flu.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you didn't die.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too. It's always a good thing.
You're probably the person that's glad because of. Help me out here.
Nope, you dug your hole.
You're probably the most relieved that you didn't die of anybody.
Yes.
Right?
I'm also really relieved that all my organs are functioning properly according to the blood work, so I'm good.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that bad.
Well, because it started Sunday night, and I went into the clinic that's on campus on Wednesday because they were closed on Tuesday and Monday. There's no way I was driving myself anywhere. And so they're like, well, since it's been going on for a couple of days, we want to just make sure that your kidney and livers and everything's functioning properly, pancreas, whatnot. So they drew a few vials of blood and ran tests, and everything was within their normal limits. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're back.
Woohoo!
I don't know.
Good to be back.
We suck when you're not here. Brad and I suck at this show.
I doubt that.
No,
I highly doubt that.
It's only Dave.
Ouch!
Just kidding.
Just throw me under the bus.
It's like, man.
Love you, boss.
All right, let's do this thing. The podcast is all about extraterrestrials and their appearances in film, TV, video games, comic books, science, real life. I could go on, but I won't. Any place, basically, where aliens show up, we talk about them. And the show is divided into 3 sections: the news, the sightings feature, and our picks for the week. You can follow us on Twitter, join our Facebook group, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we've got the links on our website at gncasts.com. Let's get the show on the road and start the news.
In the news.
And we'll let Syfy go first. Go ahead, Syfy.
I'm well.
Well, I mean, former Syfy, the most recent Syfy of all of us.
The plagued one. All right. So, Mexican farmer builds pyramid after being ordered by alien from faraway planet. Bum, bum, bum.
Hang on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Raimundo Corona says he erected the 22 feet stone temple after being visited by a tall man calling himself Heruleka, who had honey-colored eyes, white hair, and from a planet called Nephilim. 20 times the size of Earth. I was trying to tell if that's like 2 L's or 1. 1 L. Okay. Anyway, he told a local paper the alien said he was from the constellation of Orion, which is really cool because, you know, there's Orion's belt and all that good stuff, nebulas to check out. He built the pyramid close to Monclova in the state of Coahuila near the Mexico-U.S. border, despite being warned he would be taken for a drunk or a drug addict if this story ever came out. Mr. Corona kind of makes me laugh when he was worried about being taken for a drunk. So Mr. Corona.
Corona.
Yep. Corona beer. Mr. Corona, age 33, when he claims the alien visited him in 1984, said, "He told me to build the temple in the form of a pyramid. When I asked him why it had to be in the form of a pyramid, he said it was because it should be like my faith, something that winds and storms couldn't move and always pointing upwards." Recalling the moment he asked his mysterious visitor his name, Mr. Corona told Mexican daily La Vanguardia that Heruleika had warned him, "Many people will laugh at you, defame you, and say it was an act of insanity or something he did during a bender. It was an act of a madman or a drug addict. He told me he came from the constellation of Orion, from a place called Nephilim, which was a place 20 times larger than Earth where people are similar to human beings. He was a tall man with honey-colored eyes and white hair down to the ground. He was barefoot and wore a tunic tied with a rope." Mr. Corona, whose wife was less than a day away from giving birth to his daughter at the time, says he had seen the alien in dreams before their meeting in person. He said the extraterrestrial had claimed humans were destroying their own planet and would wake up to the fact that they must look after it like a child because it gave them what they needed for their own survival. Monclova is less than 600 miles from Roswell in New Mexico, where a U.S. Air Force surveillance balloon crashed in 1947, sparking rumors it was actually an alien spacecraft. Mexico is said to be the most active country in the world for UFO and alien sightings. Last summer, video footage emerged allegedly showing an alien humanoid on the roof of a building in Nuevo Laredo, northern Mexico. Viewers claim the clip proved once again for all extraterrestrials are visiting Earth, while others branded it a, quote, pointless hoax. So, yeah. Guy builds a pyramid, says it was an alien with really, really long hair down to the ground. And he's tall, but it doesn't say like how tall he is. So I wonder, it kind of would have been nice if Mr. Corona said, "Well, I'm 5'6". Then we would know that, you know, the alien's taller than that.
Could just be, you know, an American tourist messing with them too. I mean, Americans are taller than a lot of people in the world, right?
Yeah, but they normally don't have hair down to their ankles.
Well, this
Well,
guy,
at least men, anyway.
I mean, he may be a hipster, or he may be somebody, you know, if he's going all out trying to fool this guy into thinking that he is an alien, he would have gone overboard when it came to like costumage, right? Like,
Right. Although it kind of makes me think of the aliens from, I've drawn a blank on the show. It's not Falling Sky. It's
oh,
starts
the
with
one
the
that was
D.
on Defiance.
Yeah, Defiance.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like,
Yeah.
because he's talking about how like they're like super pale and they've got the long white hair, which they had on the show, except not nearly as long as what Mr. Corona is saying. So, yeah, I
Very
don't know.
similar sounding.
Yeah, but when I was, you know, initially reading the description, that's what came to mind. Were these aliens that were very pale and like super white hair and whatnot. But
Well,
I just kind of wonder, like, how many people actually go to check out the temple. But I mean, it's not like a huge temple. It's only 22 feet tall.
Well, I was thinking while you were reading that story that Mexico has a long tradition of pyramids, right? Because you had the Aztecs had the made the pyramids?
Yeah, Aztecs, Mayans, I'm
Mayans?
guessing. Yeah, they're really big into the pyramid shape. But they actually had steps that went up to the top, and
Well, they
it's
had
not
more.
like the Egyptian pyramids where it's just like, there's a
Yeah.
point at the top.
What I was thinking though is maybe, if this alien is for real, maybe these are the same aliens that came to visit the Mayans or the Aztecs back in the day and told them to build a pyramid, right?
Right. But
I'm just thinking out loud. That's
Yeah.
a possibility.
I wonder what his wife thought.
What's his name?
Raimundo Corona?
Raimundo. Oh, Raimundo's at it again.
Are y'all building that pyramid again?
Hopefully the kid got to play with the pyramid. It'd be kind of like a jungle gym, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, not everybody's parent builds a pyramid in their yard. Was it their
Right.
yard, or was it just near their house, or where was it?
I'm guessing it was probably in his yard. I don't think they'd really appreciate it if he built it on public property, or somebody else's property. So
He made models of it, like with mashed potatoes, before he got actually to build the actual real. My reference.
probably with like just little building blocks, I'd imagine. Lincoln log pyramid
Do you get what I said though?
with mashed potatoes.
From
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters, Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, okay, yeah. Never mind. Yeah, I wasn't catching that reference. Sorry.
So slick and clever with that reference.
And much like the UFO that he saw, it just flew right over my head.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I'm sure that you could totally do say a reference of something, and I'd have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. Well, you never know. But no, I don't know. I think it's really interesting that he listened to the strange being to build the pyramid. I mean, if someone came up to me fitting this description and they said, "Hey, you should build this stone temple pointed towards the sky, that has to do with like your faith and everything's always looking up." And well, it's a very optimistic alien, but yeah, if someone came along and said, "Hey, build this pyramid," I'd be like, yeah, no.
Like,
So I really like, I'm wondering how he was able to be convinced to build this pyramid, or just based on the person's looks, or
maybe he's
like,
just a very gullible person.
maybe. Like, I'm curious, like if someone approached you, listeners, and said, "Hey, you should build this pyramid," would you do it? Like,
Or
how would
what-
you react? Like,
what
what
would
would your
be-
reaction be?
What would be convincing enough? What would the being have to look like, prove, or say to convince you to build that kind of structure?
Yeah. I would like to know, because
Okay.
I don't know what it would take.
All right. aliens@gncasts.com. Or if you're on Twitter right now, just at Galactic Netcast. We'd love to get your thoughts on that very quandary. All right. Let's move on. Thank you, Anessa. Let's move on to the second story. I believe it's me. Yeah, it is. Syfy's new series to feature Spotify as a platform for aliens to deliver secret messages. I thought this story was so cool. We've talked about Hunters in the past. Hunters, the TV show, which is supposed to be, I think, premiering soon. I know here in Canada it's going to be premiering in April. I don't know about Syfy. It sounds like it's about the same time for Syfy in the States. So Hunters, it's based on a book by the guy that did Communion. What's his name? Help me out, Anessa. You know him. You know who I'm talking about.
Whitley Strieber?
Greer, yeah. Hunters is set in the present day and features an underground group of alien terrorists who use a digital platform to deliver secret messages. As they were developing the script, producer Gail Ann Hurd, who may sound familiar to you guys, she's the executive producer of The Walking Dead, and showrunner Natalie Chaidez thought, instead of inventing a platform for these secret messages, why not have the aliens use Spotify? I mean, why the hell not? So the creative team talked to Syfy about possibly weaving the music streaming service into the show, which premieres April 11th. See, I knew it was April. The network reached out to Spotify, and before long, a simple brand mention had turned into an elaborate season-long marketing partnership. See, this is perfect. This is whoever came up with this idea. I don't know if it was really Gail Ann Hurd and this other person. Maybe it was their underlings. So whoever came up with this concept deserves a raise and a promotion, because
I don't know about that.
Why?
Well, if they're just showing Spotify, that's one thing. But if they're actually playing music on Spotify, let me lay this out for you so you can see where I'm coming from. Okay. For those of you who are at, Anessa, myself, and Dave's age, probably knew of a TV show called WKRP in Cincinnati. Right?
What?
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
So the issue now is because WKRP was a radio station, when they aired the show originally, they had the rights for the little chunks of songs that they actually played over the airwaves. But many years later, when they released the DVDs, they had to swap out a lot of the songs because they couldn't get the rights to them.
Yeah, because originally there was some great music, like I think the pilot episode where they introduced Dr. Johnny Fever, they used Doctor, Give Me the News, I Got a Bad Case of Loving You. And I don't think that song is still being used in the home video versions of the show anymore.
No. And I, being a big fan of Smallville as I was, going back and watching episodes now, because they wove a lot of the Warner music into it, it kind of dates it a lot more. Mm-hmm. So that would be one of the concerns. They're looking to make $1 right now, and they're looking to, get this thing produced, and God bless them. I'm just thinking, if this is successful, if it does get like 5 years and it goes into syndication over time, there could be issues with it just being really kind of dated in short order.
Yeah, who knows? They may have a plan for that. Like, they may have a contingency plan for the future to keep it fresh. Because I know Spotify probably has to think, we're in it for the long haul. We want to be this platform for a long time. So maybe they have a way of like swapping in and out different music in repeats of the show, possibly.
Well, once it gets weird, because once you move from one medium to another, so like Spotify has the rights to play the music on Spotify. Mm-hmm. But once you go from, we're going to play Spotify and we're going to put it in a TV show, well, now you need a whole new set of rights to secure to get them into a television format. You're jumping a medium.
Yeah, they may not be actually playing the music from Spotify, just using the platform for messaging.
Sure. And if that's the case, that's cool. I'm just looking at potential pitfalls with copyright that could come down the pike here.
Because you're the smartest man in the room, Brad.
I just deal a lot.
He just does a lot of copyright
stuff at work.
I know. I didn't want to like. I don't know. Never mind. So Syfy and Spotify are also collaborating on a digital brand offshoot, ranging from playlists on Spotify that are curated by one of the show's characters, as well as a sweepstakes through which fans will be urged to crack a coded message hidden within these playlists. So it sounds like they're using Spotify in many different ways, like it's a cross-promotion, multifaceted thing with the show. So I'd be curious to see how it all works.
Indeed.
So I guess we'll have to find out when the show premieres, April 11th, on Syfy in the States and on Space. I think it's Space in Canada. The Space? I'm not sure. It might be Showcase. They kind of distribute all the sci-fi shows between the Space Channel and Showcase in Canada. So I guess I'll have to see. I'll have to wait and see. All right. Moving on up to the east side. Brad, you've got the third and final story. Lay it on us.
I believe I have a deluxe apartment in the sky for us to check out.
Nice.
Like a UFO.
Here we go. We haven't had a good one of these in a while. Okay. I want to make sure I have the right voice for this. Aliens are controlling the sun. UFO hunters say they have spotted strange ships near the solar surface in the latest bizarre claim. This story comes from Daily Mail. We love them. The sun's light and heat keeps our planet alive, and a Martian researcher believes UFOs are actually controlling how much is released to Earth. I love this next line. A YouTuber and ufologist has spotted what he claims to be numerous UFOs traveling around the sun this week in images sent back from the Solar Heliospheric Observatory. And this might not be their first trip around the sun, as Russian scientists have claimed to have seen the same event 6 to 7 years ago. People should know the truth that hides NASA.
What? That's worded weirdly. Say that again, Brad.
Okay, I'm going to check and make sure I didn't copy something wrong. No?
You know, it wouldn't be surprised. I see so many different articles online that are written so terribly poorly.
Yeah, Daily Mail is no exception in that regard. Okay, yeah. People should know the truth that hides NASA. Muenhausen writes underneath the video on his YouTube channel. The video was released to the public yesterday and shows images with strange green lit objects floating around the bright glowing ball of gas. I heard in a news story about 6 or 7 years back that 2 Russian scientists that discovered that there were numerous UFOs around the sun at the same time, 24 hours a day, run-on sentence. Oh my God, where's the
period? Help!
Oh,
Help!
It's from Scott C. Waring, the man who does not believe in using periods in sentences. All right. They stated the UFOs would increase and decrease their speed suddenly for no reason, and they would make sudden hard right 90-degree turns without slowing down. One would hope if aliens are constantly traveling through space that their vehicles were far more advanced than our spacecraft. Duh. Waring continued to explain that the news story about the discovery by the Russian scientists has long vanished from the web. They are out there around our sun doing God knows what, Waring wrote. They may actually be controlling the sun to keep a steady temperature here on Earth, or they could be harvesting a very rare and powerful heavy element.
You know what? We need special music for this kind of story.
Yeah, we do. Let's hope they don't make a mistake and barbecue our planet. And I dropped stuff. All right. Another alien hunter found something similar far away from the sun. An enormous alien structure was, they claim, seen moving in the direction of Jupiter's moon Europa, which, according to some resembles an interstellar mothership or an intergalactic cruiser.
Oh my God.
The image was taken by a Canon 650D camera with a 7D 300. Oh my God, could we have more crap? Okay, tripod in someone's backyard last week. Jupiter has long since been shrouded in mystery along with its moon, and particularly that of Europa, says UFO researcher from Secure Team, Tyler, in a YouTube video, who does not give his full name. There has been a lot of scientific talk about alien life likely existing in the vast oceans that currently exist under its icy surface. The video was sent to Secure Team from Lewis Reed, a Martian researcher in the city of Bristol in the UK, reports Mirror Online. The image shows Jupiter glowing on the left and a strange anomaly shining brightly to the right of it, which they suggest is approaching Europa. Tyler notes that the UFO comes very close to Europa, and nothing like this has ever been seen in our solar system until now.
Approaching Europa was my 1970s space rock band.
Well, yeah.
A lot of synths. Very experimental.
It's a lot of prog rock at that time. My computer just freaked out. There we go. Secure Team is very excited about this amazing find because they say there is no doubt that the glowing object is a structure that could actually be multiple structures put together. One thing for sure is that this definitely doesn't belong there, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least if this was some sort of alien craft, says Tyler. Secure Team has expressed their belief about life on the fifth planet and believe the icy world of Europa is also on top of NASA scientists' list for next exploration mission.
For next exploration mission?
Yeah, not the next, just next. It sounds like a bad, Nigerian Prince scam email.
People just don't give a F anymore, do they?
I think that you would like it.
Something that bothers me about this story is they take the time to mention the alien hunter that found something similar far away from the sun. And the image was taken by a Canon 650D camera with a 300 millimeter telescopic lens mounted on a tripod.
Hang on one second. Anessa, she knows two things. She knows astronomy and she knows cameras. Go ahead.
I've seen images taken by a 70 to 300 millimeter lens with a DSLR. And to see this alien megastructure, I'm going to guess it's probably maybe like a lens flare from Jupiter, because Jupiter is actually really bright, especially when you look at it through like a telescope and you're like, wow, that's amazing. But the other thing too is you don't usually get a whole lot of detail out of Jupiter. You'll see like this bright circle, and then you'll see the 4 Galilean moons hanging out, unless one of them's, behind or in front of Jupiter. And then just depending on the quality of whatever you're looking through, like the magnification, you might be able to see one of the moons like transiting across the face of Jupiter, which is actually really cool. But anyway, yeah, I kind of question the alien quote megastructure when you don't typically get a whole lot of detail out of this lens looking at Jupiter.
Maybe they have a special version of that camera. Maybe it's their own modification or something.
Then it probably wouldn't be a 300 millimeter lens.
Or maybe it's just complete BS.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you can do a Google search and type in, let's see, what did I like? If you do just Jupiter photographed with 300 millimeter lens, like people will ask questions like, hey, can I take pictures of Jupiter with this lens? And it's like, yes, but most of them aren't that great. Most of the images aren't that great. And so you're just going to end up with a big bright dot and some smaller bright dots. And I don't know. It kind of bothers me a little bit because it makes it seem like, oh, it's like this awesome viewing, this awesome imagery. And I'm like, you kind of need a bigger telescope. Actually, to be honest, when you do photography of planets, it's actually better. And that's something that they didn't mention, was it's actually kind of works out a little better if you do like video of like Jupiter. Just because I guess the way that it's processed or something, there's not as much of that bright light, and so you start to see more of the banding. It's something that we did from time to time with astrophotographying
Plus,
at my old job.
Your shutter is not opening and closing. It's just
right. And the other thing too that some people will do is they will adjust, and that's something that's frequently done in astronomy and astro. Like those really pretty photos that you see are usually a compilation of multiple images. You do your dark frame, so you take an image of just like black, like nothing, no stars, no nothing, and then you take a few of those as kind of your backdrop, and then you work on doing the actual image of your object, and you'll stack them and you'll adjust the shutter speed and possibly the aperture, just depending on what you're working on. And then there's software programs where you go and it just, like Registax, it'll just stack the images on each other, so you get a lot more detail that way. Surprise!
No, that's how NASA gets
it's a lot of work when they do astrophotography. People just think like, oh, I'm gonna go take a picture of this nebula, and sometimes they actually turn out really well, but there's a lot of color and a lot of detail that don't come out unless you actually do a little bit of tweaking of the image. So I would say probably like 90% of the astrophotography that you see has a bit of software enhancement, whether it's Photoshop, Registax, whatever the case may be. So anyway.
Good to know. Thank you. That'll be our next Patreon podcast, extra podcast. We'll talk more about
camera talk,
talk, astrophotography. Yeah. No. And like I actually started shopping for telescopes the other day, just kind of like looking around because I want to get something, well, I say something cheap, but like maybe something between the $300 and $500 mark. But I want to do a Dobsonian, which is a Newtonian telescope. It's a reflecting telescope. But the mount that it sits on, the box, is called a Dobsonian mount. And it's very intuitive, like you push, pull, whatever, swivel the telescope around. And it's a really good setup for like amateur astronomers, or you want to take it to a star party. You're not doing anything crazy, taking astrophotography. But my thought process was like, if I save up, I get the telescope, I get the solar lens cap, and then I go see the solar eclipse in 2017. That's like my plan.
You can make a telescope. I've seen videos of people actually.
Oh yeah, you can make telescopes and whatnot. Just finding the glass and the tube and getting the focal length and everything right. But I'm not that dedicated. Okay. Maybe
all right.
further on up.
So that's your news. You guys ready to move on? Is that it for that story, Brad?
Yes.
All right. Hey, you know what? We would love your help. We need your help. Your help is wanted, needed, requested. And what you do is you go to Patreon, patreon.com/Galactic Netcasts. That's GALACTICNETCASTS.
RESBCT.
Find out what it means to me.
No words. Spelling I can do. So no, patreon.com/Galactic Netcasts. And pledge as little as $1 a month. If you pledge more, though, you'll get, like we mentioned, that Patreon extra podcast every month. That's for the $5 a month level that you pledge to give every month, $5, or $3 will get you the extra newsletter of stories that we are related to what we talk about here on this podcast. And this money that we raise every month goes to things like our website, because that's a space that we have reserved on a server somewhere, and we have to pay these people every month a certain amount of money for that space. So that money goes to that. We're also working on a way to putting our audio another place besides where it is now. So those type things basically operational costs is what we're doing. We're trying to raise money for. And again, patreon.com/Galactic Netcasts. $1, $3, $5, and there's a special secret $20 a month donation level that I don't even want to mention, because if somebody does commit to that, then we have more work to do. So one more time, patreon.com/Galactic Netcast. We thank you in advance for your support of Galactic Netcasts. Here we go. We've got a little sighting to do here.
Please identify the craft you witnessed.
Black, triangular, three-dimensional shape, huge, just flying, hovering minutes.
Shaped like almost like between an egg and like a teardrop.
Two long cylinder objects flying over me.
It had a dome. I could see the occupants in it.
It appeared to be rotating, and it was on circular to disc shape, and it hovered for maybe about 5 minutes.
Sightings. Somebody saw something in the sky. They think it's a UFO, an alien craft of some kind. That's what we talk about here. And Anessa was the one doing the research this week. What'd you come up with?
I found a story about a 75-year-old guy from Edmonton, Kentucky, who filed a report with MUFON in 2013 about what he saw in 1959 or 1960. The year's a little muddled. It's a bit of a lengthy read, so I'm going to kind of skip the very beginning bit beyond the, well, guys, I'm going to tell you about this one, but don't tell me I was crazy or I'm just lying after all these years I've kept it to myself, okay? Okay, so this little country church set on the country road, and we had to go over what is called the Roger Glass Hill. It's a blacktop about halfway between Edmonton and Randolph Road. Okay, I know this old country road very well. Been down it several times, and as we approached the hill back a distance before we got to the hill, you could see a bright glow glaring upwards. But from what? We don't have any idea. My mother-in-law told me, you better slow up. There's something wrong up ahead there. See, the glow of lights looks like at about the old Roger Glass Hill, so I slowed up to about 35 miles per hour, which is okay there if you know the road. As we got closer, the light I could tell was glaring up from that steep hill. Well, guys, you're not going that fast at 35 miles per hour, but when you're startled by something that's not slow either, if you just hit the brake pedal when we went over this hill, you could see that it was emitting an ungodly amount of light from it. In fact, it was glowing a very, very bright, odd-looking white light. And when I slammed on my brakes, of course, my 1951 Mercury Monterey just slid on all of those little pea-sized gravels. And I thought we were going to skid into this thing. And I just threw my arms up in front of my face and my eyes to protect my face from the flying glass. But I got stopped just in time. And they were all screaming, "Stop, stop, stop." And I had the brakes on, but it just skidded on the gravel and my car slid, I guess within 30 feet of this thing, setting right smack dab in the middle of the road. No way I could have ever gotten around this thing. It was hanging over the side of the road on both sides, and it had bright lights flashing off and on in different colors, but it was sort of glowing underneath too. So they were crying and yelling at me to back away from this thing. But when you're startled so badly, you just can't get anything right. But I kept telling them, quit screaming and yelling. I'm going back up the hill, hoping all the time another car wouldn't come flying over the thing and hit me from the back and kill everyone in my car. So I finally got the damn car started and went back up to the top of this hill, and when we got there, I stopped and was trying to get my senses and figure out just what the hell this damn thing was. And as we were staring at it, the damn thing started glowing really bright and sort of raised off the roadway where it was settling. And then, guys, that's when I knew this thing wasn't from Earth. The thing started gradually lifting off the ground, and then it probably got 15 or 20 feet up. I'm telling you guys, this damn thing looked like a damn bullet streaking away from there. And like I say, it literally just vanished before our eyes. People, I have never in my lifetime ever seen anything equal to it. Not before then, and never since then either. It was probably in the dark and scared to death of this thing too. It looked like it was 30 or 40 or maybe even 50 feet in diameter. It could have been bigger than that, but it nearly scared everyone to death and just vanished. and us sitting there looking at it as it disappeared into the night sky. And that's the last time I went to that road after dark. I wouldn't blame him.
You know what we need
What?
for something like this? We need serial type music. When you're,
I know. I feel like I need more of an accent when I read this. Sorry.
No, you don't.
Kentucky. Never again did I go that way. I'm 75 years old now, guys, and I've never told no one about it, because if you had told anyone about something like that, when they would have put you in jail or had a warrant taken out for lunacy, saying you guys were crazy as hell. But guys, you can believe me or you cannot believe me. I can care less, but I know what I saw. It just wasn't some kind of gas or mistaking a flashlight for this light. I know what I saw with my own 2 eyes.
I like this guy a lot.
I know. I like him. And I feel like he has an accent, and I start slipping into it a little bit, but that's okay. What it was, I have no idea, but take my own word for it. Since then, I've worked on huge aircrafts in Venice, California. I've worked at Transco Electronics in California. I've worked on all kinds of jets and choppers, and take my damn word for it. It wasn't any type of plane and man on this planet that doesn't have enough brains to build an airplane that could go 1/3 the speed, or to make it plane a fraction of that speed it took off at. If someone says or tells you there's no such thing, you tell them. I'll tell them. They're a damn liar. I saw one. I know they are real, people. Don't you ever let anyone make you believe different either. They live out there somewhere, and hey, the strangest thing, this damn thing didn't make any sounds or noise or anything you could hear. Nothing from its motor at all, no sounds. Thanks, guys. I wish they weren't all dead now. I would have all 7 of them to tell you just what I tell you here in this email. But sadly, me and my wife at the time have since divorced and she passed away. And the other 6 have all since passed too. But you can take my word for it. Nonetheless, this did happen, people. I would gain nothing by lying to you. I want nothing from you. But just make people here know that they are real. Where they come from is beyond me.
I love that story. I love that guy. I love everything about it, especially the fact that he has worked, what it sounds like, in the aircraft industry, building aircraft. So
yeah,
this is
so he's familiar with what they look like, what they can do, what they look like at night.
Yeah, it's like getting a pilot's report of an extraterrestrial craft. Like, they're a lot more legitimate than the average, every ordinary citizen type person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're a bit more credible than maybe like me driving up and going, hey, I saw this thing and there's no way it could be from this world because it did this. But how do I know? I've not really been around a whole lot of aircraft.
Yeah.
So
okay, I think I know what I want to do. I want to get a serial like music for times that we're reading a big long like story from somebody's point of view. It's perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and for some reason I really wanted to slip into like more of a country accent, especially when he's like, they're a damn liar.
Well, you know, of all of us 3, you're the perfect person to do so, because Brad and I have lived in the northern part of this continent of ours, and we've not lived where you have lived.
Yeah. So. And I mean, I don't know specifically what the Kentucky accent would consist of, but to me it seems like it would be more country potentially, because you've got, I guess, the Appalachia that kind of run through there, and my dad was part of that chain of Appalachia Mountain. He was a hillbilly when he grew up and he had that accent, so I just kind of figure that's the way this guy should sound.
It'd be more okay. I'm not going to even try. I used to live down south, so I think at one time I probably could have pulled it off, but not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, and with that accent, with more of the country accent, not so much southern, but like country. If I'm around people that have that particular accent long enough, then I start to slip into it.
Yep. Doesn't take very much, does it?
No, not really.
All right, cool. Thank you for that report. That is your sightings. And before we move on to our picks, or what are we calling it? Picks or warnings, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Picks
Want
and
to say
warnings.
want to say hello to Growly Bear. He's like, why didn't I know the alien invasion was live now? Tune in.
Surprise!
Tune in at Galactic Netcast. Thank you, Carrie Growly Bear. You're there every week, and we appreciate that. All right, let's move on to our picks and warnings. Before we do, though, I do want to mention that you can find details on how to subscribe to the show and everything else about the alien invasion by going to gncasts.com/aliens. That's gncasts.com/aliens. Or for the other shows from the Galactic Netcast Network, go to just the main website, GNcasts. There's links to all of our shows that we have. About, what, 7 of them now, Brad?
700, yeah.
No, 7. We have 7.
Oh, 7 different. Yes.
The Alien Invasion, Sci-Fi Geeks Club, Weird World Weekly, Adventure Part. There's more than 7. Podcast of Terror, Galactic Gaming News, Who Knew in Review, Sci-Fi Survival Guide. What am I missing? Oh, Exploring the X-Files. Holy crap, 10. Well, almost 10.
Almost 10. Well, once we get the Else Nerds over.
Working on the Else Nerds, yeah, exactly. So all those podcasts, you can find them at gncasts.com. All right, things that we have watched, listened to, read, etc., involving extraterrestrials. This is our picks and warnings section, and it looks like Brad is first in the lineup. What do you got, Brad?
You're darn right I am. I don't know why I sounded so confrontational there, but
you're confident. You're ready to go. You're raring.
Yeah, I'm ready to make this frickin' happen there, Joseph.
Kick it in the A. Let's do it.
Okay. So Daryl Johnston, who does the Sci-Fi Survival Guide and Who Knew in Reviews, longtime listener to Galactic Netcasts, surprised me with this. What is this? If you're not checking us out on YouTube, you can't see what this is. So I will tell you what this is. It is it's a children's book of sorts, and it is C is for Cthulhu. It is the Lovecraftian alphabet book. And as advertised, as you flip through each of the different pages, you get to see a letter and what it corresponds to in the Lovecraft universe.
Well, why don't you go through a few of those?
Yeah, I'm going to go through a few here. A is for Abdul Al-Zahra. I can never say his name right. El-Hazred. I wrote this little book, and he wrote the Necronomicon. Which is a big, bad, evil book in the Lovecraftian universe. B is for the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young. Bah. C is for Cthulhu. In his house at Relay, Red Cthulhu waits dreaming. D is for Deep Ones. What lives? I can never pronounce these things. Under the sea. It's the Deep Ones. That's what lives under the sea.
Under the sea.
E is for Eldritch, ancient and weird. So, yes, it goes through all, and it ends with something that's relatable to folks. Z is for zombies.
I didn't know that there were zombies in Lovecraft stories.
Yes-ish.
They're not like pandemic zombies.
No. Now that I think about it, I was thinking that the thing at the doorstep sort of qualifies.
Wait, which one? The Stuff You Should Know podcast. Every year for Halloween, they end up doing short stories where they read maybe like 1 or 2 short stories, for Halloween. And the one that I showed you was a Lovecraft one, and you were kind of surprised about that. Didn't it have like some sort of ancient Roman civilization of like undead people or something in a pond? Or am I misremembering the undead part?
Did you say in a pond?
In a pond, yeah. Well, because there's this pond, and this individual or individuals decide that they would like to cover the pond and make it into like a resort or something, like build stuff, and like all this weird stuff happens. And yeah, it was actually really interesting because I've not really read any Lovecraft, and that was the first thing that I listened to, but apparently it wasn't like most of his stuff.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sure people are going, Reanimator, Reanimator. I didn't. Okay. What our classic what our classic thoughts of as a zombie is a shambling, mindless creature that is undead walking around, right? In Reanimator, they're not mindless. They know things, you know, they're dead, but they still remember who they were before. So I don't technically count that. But I guess reanimation is right in the title, so I guess that's Lovecraftian zombie for you. So there you go.
Now, is everything that he wrote, does it all take place in the same universe, or is it just very similar in themes?
Similar in themes. There are some things that tie together, like the mention of Professor Armitage, who oversees the ancient the library essentially at Miskatonic University, and there are stories of Randolph Carter. I think there's at least 3, and they kind of they sort of link together. So there's a lot of themes. There's a lot of creatures that are mentioned and reused in other stories. He co-wrote a lot of things with other weird fiction writers. And in some cases, he was able to weave some of his mythology into it. So that's where you get some of that.
Kind of like how, and I'm new to this, my wife is reading the Sandman series. Kind of how Neil Gaiman kind of throws in other DC characters from time to time, mentions them, or they're involved in the story somehow.
Yep. Like in the first run, Dr. Destiny appears, and he's
I think
part of.
I think the third book she just was reading, and they mentioned Vandal Savage.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. He is an immortal for all intents and purposes.
All right, cool. So C is for Cthulhu.
Correct. Thank you, Daryl.
Apparently the story that I was talking about was The Tomb by H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, The Tomb.
Oh.
You're gonna die.
I haven't read all of his stuff. I
think I had you listen to part of the story, though.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I love H.P. Lovecraft. I have not read all of his work because there's a lot of it.
Prolific.
Yes.
Okay. My pick this week, it's definitely a pick. Well, it's kind of a cross between a pick and a warning, just because if you're not into crazy ass conspiracy theories, then it's probably a warning. But if you're into those type of things, it would be a pick. So it's a 25-minute presentation that I found on YouTube by Dr. Stephen Greer. Does that name ring a bell to you guys?
Kind of. I don't know why, though.
He is a ufologist. He's a pretty famous ufologist. He's been on, I remember hearing him come on Coast to Coast AM quite a bit, especially back in the day with Art Bell. And I just happened to find this video presentation on YouTube today, and the title is "Beware of the Fake Alien Invasion." And it was very interesting. Why? What?
Oh, Alex busted in here and scared me.
Okay, so this was a talk that he gave in London in September of last year. He discusses what he describes as the ultimate false flag, which was planned as far back as 1956 by the U.S. deep state, a fake interstellar war, which would follow the war on terrorism and false flag events concerning incoming asteroids. Greer begins by describing a July 1994 meeting he had in New York City with Prince Hans Adam von Liechtenstein, the head of the state of Liechtenstein. He was involved in various initiatives at the UN and told Greer that in 1989, he'd been present at a very secret and classified UN meeting with Mikhail Gorbachev and others to organize the announcement that we are not alone and to end UFO ET secrecy. However, while UN Secretary Javier Perez de Cuellar, okay?
Cuellar. There you go.
Cuellar.
Cuellar.
Was on his way to his meeting, he was abducted, quote unquote, by aliens. A well-known account of this event was the subject of the late Bud Hopkins' book, Witnessed. He was told by the aliens aboard the craft that if the UN went forward with its plans to disclose the truth about extraterrestrial life, that they would abduct all of the world leaders. He said this event blew up like an atomic bomb in the George H.W. Bush White House. The president's summer house in Kennebunkport, Maine, was buzzed by UFOs throughout his stay there, but he didn't realize that these craft were ours, Greer says. And I'm going to just kind of end it there. I mean, this is quite lengthy, and I'll just try to sum it up for you. Basically, what he is saying is there are extraterrestrial life out there, and in 1989, the world was going to announce that, yes, there are extraterrestrials, we've been in contact with them, we are not alone in the universe. But this group, this deep, group that's been around since the late 1950s, has been throughout their entire career, or the entire history of this group, they have been faking abductions, faking UFO encounters to get people scared about alien life, to basically juice the defense industry. It's all about the defense industry. It's all about making weapons, because you have to be scared to want to buy weapons, right? You have to have an enemy to afford weapons, and weapons are a very lucrative thing to get into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, who's the guy that was with NASA that was originally one of the V2, Werner von Braun? Is that his name? I think so.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Werner von Braun.
Yeah. Werner von Braun. He was with the Germans. The U.S. Got a hold of him and went to our side to work on the space program, and eventually NASA and the whole kit and caboodle. But apparently he was on his deathbed. He revealed all this information to the people that were there, that this goes way back, and they've been at the root of all these events that have happened throughout recent history since the late or early 1950s. And he laid out there's the Cold War, and then there's this, and then there's the war on terrorism, and the next war would be an intergalactic war, that we would be fighting aliens, and it would be all staged. It's all to have this organization that is represented by, or the people behind this organization are the military-industrial complex, and that was his presentation. It was very interesting, and that is my pick / warning this week.
Cool.
You have to really
Be into that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be into it. You have to really be into it. You have to be a true believer.
Or at the very least, someone that's mildly interested.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, it's the possibilities of any of this being true is interesting. Like, I mean, just to be in that room with those people in 1989 as they were about to unveil the truth to the world, that would be amazing to be in that. And then to have the George H.W. Bush White House freaking out about this threat by the extraterrestrials. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up our picks and or warnings with something that Anessa's got there.
Well, I forgot to grab the book before coming over here, but it's a coloring book.
Oh.
Coloring books seem to be all the rage these days. If you walk into, like, I'm trying to think, like Barnes & Noble, Michael's, Joann's, Walmart, even, probably Target, you'll find, like, adult coloring books, and they all have different themes. I mean, I found one that's like a hipster coloring book, and then I wasn't getting into the whole coloring book craze until I found one that was like the Sugar Skulls, like the Day of the Dead. And so I'm like, I really want that. So then I got a coloring book, and then I heard that they were coming out, like BBC was putting out a Doctor Who coloring book, and I'm like, how can I turn that down? It's Doctor Who. So my pick for this week is the Doctor Who coloring book. It was just recently released back in February, and you can buy it on the Amazon for about $10, free shipping if you have Prime. But no, it's really cool because it's not just the newer stuff that's within the coloring book. They've got like old monsters and characters and whatnot from like the earlier days. And yeah, if you're looking to kind of get into coloring and you don't know where to start, but you're a fan of Doctor Who, then this would be a good book for you. So, and even if you don't color, it's actually kind of cool because they'll have images and then they've got quotes and stuff on one page. So there is a little bit to read. It's not just all about the coloring. So yeah, Doctor Who coloring book.
Awesome. I wanted to throw in also the news this week that it sounds like Peter Capaldi will most likely be back for not just the next season, but the season after that with the new showrunner. He was asked to come back, and it sounds like he's going to take. He said that he's going to be with Doctor Who as long as he can.
Cool.
Which is, I'm looking forward. That's very, very good news, especially for my wife who loves Peter Capaldi. She's like,
yeah,
leave. You can't leave.
Don't leave.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Have you done any of the? I'm sorry, I was kind of half listening, Anessa. Have you colored in it yet?
Not yet. I've kind of gone through and read all the little quotes and whatnot, and but I've been working on my Sugar Skull currently. But that was going to be the next page that I color was from the Doctor Who coloring book. And there's one that's actually really cool because it's got like a couple of Cybermen, and it's just got like this piped pattern all across the page, and I'm like, oh, that'll be fun. So anyway.
Cool. All right, so those are your picks and your warnings. We'll have the links to those if you want to check them out in the show notes. If you have any feedback, please send it to us via email, aliens@gncasts.com. I want to thank Growly Bear for checking in, as always, every Thursday when we're live on Twitter. You can follow us at Twitter or on Twitter at GNCast, or what the hell? What's wrong with me? At Galactic Netcast. Please call our voicemail number with your feedback as well, 805-328-3966. You can subscribe to this podcast. Hey, by the way, I'm going to try to do this the music live here, so stand by here. Okay, there we go. It might be a little bit loud. Let me, I guess not. That'll work. Okay. It may run out by the time before I'm done, though. So subscribe to this podcast via iTunes. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and write a review. We're also on Stitcher Smart Radio. You can leave a comment on this episode there as well. All subscription options and links can be found under the subscribe tab at gncasts.com. That's going to do it for this episode of the Alien Invasion Podcast, a production of Galactic Netcast. Thanks for joining us. Final thoughts, Brad? What do you got there, buddy?
That's
a good one.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay. How about you, Anessa? What's your final thought? I know you got something. You got food you're hungry for or some weird thing. What's your final thought?
Peanut butter jelly time.
That's true.
Is that what you're having afterwards?
No, we're having brats and hamburgers.
Okay. Peanut butter jelly time can be any time, though, right?
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a meal. Come on. What's wrong?
It's
What's wrong
snack.
with it? Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us, everybody, and we will talk to you next time.
Woo! Bye.